All you Nightmare nerds, welcome to the Season 3 premiere of the Nightmare Network podcast. We are jumping into a really exciting one today. We are working on New Nightmare for Terrifier 2, so we're going to be talking a little bit of review, a little bit of context, a little bit of analysis. But today is a really, really, really awesome, fun day because, super cool announcement, we have a brand new co-host to the Nightmare Network podcast. His name is Killian Locke. Killian, please introduce yourself. Say hi to all the Nightmare nerds and welcome to the podcast.
Hey, everybody. I want you to know that there was actually like an internal conflict that I went through just now, trying to decide whether or not I was going to even approximate your energy or whether I was going to come in at the opposite energy and just be like, hey, everybody.
Dude, if you want to be the miserable one, I will absolutely go out of my mind extra, over the moon with energy for these podcasts. I'm totally down for that.
No, it was just, that was you were so high energy and I was like, oh, should I just be an asshole?
So energy and I could not give a shit right now.
But my name is Killian, Killian Locke. You can find me on Instagram at killian.locke.actor. Or you can go to Human Pincushion Productions, on Instagram or YouTube and check out our stuff. I'm the founder and artistic director of Human Pincushion Productions.
Yeah, I was going to say, give yourself a little background. Let the people know who you are, what you're working on right now.
Yeah. So as I said, founder, artistic director of Human Pincushion Productions. I am an actor, I'm a writer, now a filmmaker. We just finished in November. We finished shooting our first feature film, and actually in a couple of weeks, we go back and do pickups and reshoots, and that should be coming out. Wait Till Dawn, the first feature film, should be coming out in September, October, sometime around there. We might be debuting at Horror Hound. Don't hold me to
awesome.
that. But so starting its festival rounds around there, and then hopefully hitting theaters or a streaming service near you sometime in the new year.
That's amazing. Killian and I actually met at Horror Hound.
Sure as hell did.
We sure as hell did when the Nightmare Network short Digging made its world premiere there. Some more very exciting news is this season of Nightmare Network is also going to feature the premieres of our short Nightmare films that we'll be releasing on YouTube, so keep an eye out for that. That's going to include Digging, which was an award-winning short film this year at the Horror Hotel Film Festival. And the Liftoff Film Festival too. It won or Liftoff Showcase Extravaganza won the Audience Choice Award. I didn't come here to brag today, but I came here to brag today pretty much.
You've got stuff to brag about, so brag about it.
This dude over here is like, I'm the Human Pincushion dude. I'm making movies and stuff. And so, you know what? My movie has so many dick jokes in it. So who's really winning here?
I mean, clearly you.
Yeah,
listen, if dick jokes were good enough for Shakespeare, they're good enough for us.
Yes, very, very true. But we do have some new Nightmares coming out this year, too. We have two in the can, 2 new short films I'm really excited to edit. And hopefully we're meeting up again at Horror Hound this year. That would be amazing.
That'd be so sick. Get some of the boys back together.
Shout out to our boy Pierce. Maybe we get to, you know what? I know Crabs isn't going to be showing, but maybe we just show it anyway. We can have a secret screening in our hotel rooms.
Yeah, I was like, we'll just get everyone together in a hotel room and be like, hey guys, this is the movie that swept last year. So just let's watch that. And then we'll send a video to Pierce. Right. If he's not there, just send a video to Pierce of us just going Crabs and then doing the little crab
Crabs. The movie that launched 1,000 friendships was Crabs.
Yes.
So anyway, before we get too off topic here, let's dive into what we came here to talk about, which is the super awesome indie horror epic that is Terrifier 2. So last season on the podcast, I did a new nightmare for Terrifier 1. Wasn't exactly new. Actually, sorry, it's just Terrifier. We don't put the 1 in there. Just regular Terrifier. Kevin Smith, actually, I got to see Kevin Smith talk about this movie at the Smod Castle, and the first thing he did was when Damian Leone called his own movie, like, yeah, in Terrifier 1, Kevin Smith was like, that's not what it's called. You didn't name it Terrifier 1, man. You named it Terrifier. Just stick to Terrifier. So that's apparently a new rule we have to follow so as to not piss off Kevin Smith. So, Kevin, if you're listening, I'm so sorry. So we're going to strike that from the record. Anyway, last year we did a podcast for Terrifier 1. I did it again. Last year we did a podcast for Terrifier. And I had a fun time recording that. It was a time where it was just me on the podcast, so I was pretty much just nerding out on horror movies by myself. So before we got into Terrifier 2, I wanted to talk to you about your first introduction to Terrifier as a franchise and what your initial reactions were to the property.
Okay, so hot take. And listen, before I say anything, I'm sure Damian Leone is it Leone or Leone?
I think it's Leone. It may be Leone. Let's call him D-Money. We think D-Money is...
I think he's probably an incredible human being. I think he's also he's clearly a talented filmmaker, and it is hard to make a film. That being said, I, with the fiery passion of 1,000 Desert Suns, hated Terrifier. The first one. Hated it.
Ooh, hot take from... it's been like 3 minutes of you on this podcast, and you're already spilling out hot takes.
Here's the thing, and that's what I'm good for.
Please go into it.
I'm good for hot takes, because I am very opinionated.
Hot.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
So here's the dealio. After seeing Terrifier 2, it feels to me like Terrifier, the first one, is just like a feature-length proof of concept film for
Sure.
Terrifier 2. There's no real story. It is just like a way to get people murdered. And it like tries to pull like a Psycho on us by like giving us like a main character and then killing off that main character part of the way through the movie. But it's not rewarding in the same way that Psycho is. It's just like, oh, here's like an actually pretty cool character, and now she's dead.
Right.
And then you have her sister, who is a nothing character who you just sort of follow through the rest of the movie. Also, that movie has a critical failure in the way that it does the thing that I hate, which is when you're dealing with a slasher.
Right.
Confirm your fucking kill. If you get the person who's trying to murder you down on the ground and they don't have a weapon and they're seemingly incapacitated and you have a weapon, confirm your kill.
Dude, it's funny you bring that up, and we're going to talk about this more later because we do have a Scream podcast on the schedule. But I just saw the new Scream. Scream 6 just came out as of this recording date.
I need to see it.
Last weekend. Like, I really, really enjoyed it. I thought they did some really interesting, creative, out-of-the-box things for that genre, and I'm really excited to talk about it. But it's getting so hard to watch because these characters are, like, kicking the ever-loving shit out of Ghostface and then being like, let's run. I'm like, dude, keep hitting him.
Kill him.
Yes.
If this person is trying to murder you,
yes,
kill them.
Yes.
That's it.
That's gonna be the soundbite that I put for like a reel on YouTube. It's just gonna be you going like, kill him. If someone's trying to kill you, kill him. That's how we're going to promote this episode.
I'm here for it. I mean, quick sidebar before we get back to Terrifier 2.
Right.
Have you seen the movie Them? Or is it They? The French extreme horror film? I think it's They.
Yeah.
I watched it with one of my closest friends, Marie, and the entire time we were screaming at the movie in frustration because it's a movie about people who are experiencing a home invasion, and then by accident the husband kills one of them,
right?
One of the people doing the home invasion. And then for the rest of the movie, they just spend the rest of their time running from these invaders. And my immediate thing is I'm like, okay, where are you running to?
Right.
These people have demonstrated the fact that they know where you live and how to enter your home against your will, and they're trying to kill you. Somebody has to die now. That's it. There's no peaceful coexistence.
And it's funny too, because like going back to like with Scream and stuff, it is a franchise that prides itself on self-awareness and like meta approaches to horror, where the people in the movie are supposed to know better than the people in an actual horror movie, right? And they're still not confirming their kill. It's what? Yeah, okay, it's wild. Anyway,
yes.
Returning to Terrifier. This is a great comment. Maybe we'll have a whole episode just about confirming your kill, and that'll be its own thing.
That'll be great. It'll be called Finish Him.
Finish him. So anyway, returning to Terrifier. So essentially, my take on it was last year. If you listen, it's all of the same things that you said. Like I literally go into like this movie. Like there's no story here. This is a vehicle for murder. Like that's literally all that it is. But at the same time, I really enjoyed it for that purpose, because at the time I was watching like really highbrow horror to try to make like super informed opinions on stuff. Like what was the movie that I did? It was I have it right here, but it was another kind of it wasn't The Curse, but it was another one that came out recently. It was about this like indigenous Thailand like,
you're talking about The Medium?
The Medium. It was The Medium. Yes.
Fuck that movie. Fuck that movie where it lives, where it sleeps. Bury it where it stands.
Oh, jeez. But anyway, so I'm watching The Medium. Like the week before, I was watching The Medium and being like trying to form like an artistic opinion on like spirituality through that movie. And I'm just like, I'm doing it by myself too. So it's like kind of hard to like talk about like, this is why I think this movie is like forming some sort of, esoteric assumptions about spirituality and like, modern families. And then also like just talking about that's kind of tough. But then the next week I was like, I don't want to watch whatever I was planning on watching. And so I had like an impromptu Terrifier viewing, because I've been like scrolling on Vudu and like free horror movies for years. And every time I see the clown, right? And every time you see Art's face, you're just like, what's that movie? It has such a great image of him to like sell the movie for. And so that
absolutely.
Yeah. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to watch this movie. And it was like nothing but violence and murder. And that's not like, slashers aren't really my preferred form of horror, but there was something about just the joy of murder in this movie where it had nothing else for me to think about that was very, very appealing to me. So this is interesting that we kind of both have the same approach, but different opinions about it. Like I enjoy it for all the things that we talked about.
I understand that, and I respect that. And I think in a different world wherein Terrifier wasn't hyped to me for literally a couple of years, as at least a year by the time that I'd watched it, as like the next greatest horror film. It's like, it's the best horror movie they've made in 20 years. Right. Like there's this like discourse about Terrifier for like ages, and it still exists, where people are like, oh, Terrifier is this incredible, like it's one of the best horror movies ever made. And I went and I watched it and I was like, oh, no, it's not. And I'm one of those people where I will, if I have a middling opinion on a movie and then a bunch of people just start saying that this like decidedly mediocre film is one of the best things they've ever seen, my opinion on that movie will radicalize to the other direction, because there needs to be the voice on the other end of that being like, it super isn't that.
Oh, you're one of those. I had no idea coming into this. No, I'm just kidding. Well, it's fun. I'm excited because I'm excited to talk about. We have a whole bunch of things. Like we had a meeting before starting, bringing you on board, where we were gonna talk about all the stuff we wanted to talk about this time. And I brought up Skinamarink and how that like I was like moderately enjoying it in the theater while I was watching it, and then 3 people walked out and like caused a scene while they did it.
Yeah.
And like when that happened, it like that probably made it so much better for me. Like as soon as they did that, I was like, I'll die for this movie because of you. So yeah, and I hear that kind of like because a lot of people have done that too, where people online have been like, yo, Skinamarink is like a next level kind of like the greatest horror movie in 10 years. And other people are just like, it was ceilings the whole time.
Yeah.
Just ceilings.
I can't wait to talk about Skinamarink in a later episode because I also very much enjoyed Skinamarink, but I do have very specific thoughts about Skinamarink, so I'm excited to talk about that.
It's going to be a cool conversation.
This is going to be a good season, folks. Just stay tuned.
Great season. Friends will be made. Stuff will be had. It'll be lovely.
And friendships will be destroyed.
So anyway, back to
Terrifier
2. Back to the movie we were trying to talk about for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So it's cool. So we have this opinion on Terrifier 1 that I think we share for the most part. It's just that we both derive different emotions from it.
Yes,
which I think is pretty interesting. So fast forward to the promotion and the release of Terrifier 2. So Terrifier 2 to me is fascinating, not just as a movie. I think it's whole hells of a lots of fun to watch. But as an entity in and of itself, it is just fascinating that movie exists in the context and reality in which it does. Because like Terrifier not 1, just Terrifier.
Terrifier 1.
Terrifier 1. It was made with a $35,000 budget, right? And it's 85 minutes of runtime, and I'm pretty sure like 9 of those minutes are credits. Like that movie is over before you can say like Skinamarink. So it is a very quick movie. It is only murder. Nothing's going on in that movie. Even Damian will admit to you that it is a showcase for art. Like that's the sole purpose of that movie is to be like, here's a thing, like that could be cool, right?
Oh yeah.
And then Terrifier 2 comes out. It's got a $250,000 budget, pretty much from just the sheer cult popularity that, we've already talked about of these people kind of hyping this movie up. It jumps from a barely 85-minute runtime all the way up to almost 2.5 hours. And it's almost like he was like, you guys want story? Like, I'll give you some effing story, and just maxes that thing out with story and weird lore that he doesn't really like fully go into. But what we're left with is this indie horror epic, which like doesn't exist anymore. Like it's a really sprawling story. There are so many great locations and set pieces, and it feels just so much bigger than the first movie. And that to me is so fascinating.
Yes, I fully agree. I think it is incredible that the movie exists to begin with. And then I also think that I have never seen a turnaround from a first movie into a sequel, a direct sequel that is as an incredible jump in quality as Terrifier to Terrifier 2. Full disclosure, right here out of the gate, Terrifier 2, I enjoyed very, very much. The credits rolled in Terrifier 2, and I looked over at my friends and I was like, now that is a movie that I will watch anytime.
Yes. Yeah, agreed. And so when you saw it in the theaters, did you have any instances of people getting sick or anything? Like, what was your crowd like when you saw it?
So here's the cool thing. I didn't see it in the theaters. A lot of movies I actually don't go see in the theaters. I have a home theater setup. I've got like a projection screen and surround sound.
Okay, so we're guys, we're dealing with a big deal here. We didn't.
No.
Sorry. Let us know when you're ready to come down from your ivory tower of movie watching and mingle with us peasants who are dishing out, like $20 a month on A-list or something. Let us know when you're ready to mingle with the common folk.
Never peasants.
Wow.
Anyway, so when it comes to certain movies, or a lot of movies, if I miss them in the theaters, I'm not super pressed about it. I'll just toss it up on the screen and we'll watch it. And so that's how I saw Terrifier 2. I collected a bunch of my friends. We did a double feature. We watched Terrifier and Terrifier 2
cool.
back to back. We ordered pizza. We had drinks. It was a good time.
How was the caviar for this? Was it good?
It was amazing. It was fantastic.
Did you have like gold flake burgers and stuff, and
gold flakes? No, it was solid gold burgers. We just ate gold.
You just ate gold. That's cool. Yeah. All right, sweet.
I had shiny poops for a month.
I had to sneak in a peanut butter and jelly to my theater. Go on.
So we watched Terrifier 2, and the small group that we had was very vocal. I mean, the scene where is it Allie who gets like just fully
absolutely wrecked?
Yeah, fully like dissected while still alive. We were just like, oh my god, oh what the fuck?
Yeah.
Afterwards, one of us stated that the people in Terrifier 2 had video game character health bars, where it was just like, it's like a normal person can't put up with half of this. Like a normal person would get like stabbed the 4 times to start the scene and just die. That's it. We're done. But in Terrifier 2, every person has this like incredibly long lasting health bar for the sole reason of prolonging the torture that Art the Clown can give them. And so it was, and we're like, this is very effective. It's really interesting because it's like she'd be dead far and away, but they're like, no, we're just gonna have him strip all the flesh off her bones. And like her mom comes in and like she's like missing missing one of her legs, one of her arms, like the skin is off of her remaining leg, and she's like just there, and then you're like, oh my god, she's clearly dead, and then her eye moves over or whatever, and you're like, oh.
She goes, mommy.
Yeah.
Well, she stocked up on extra lives before she went to fight the boss. I think that's really what happened.
And she got zombie stomped.
She did get zombie stomped.
Everybody, like, it was a very vocal group, and it was really fun to watch.
So like when I first saw it, so I somehow convinced Nicole, who is my fiance, I mentioned her before on this podcast and she's really annoying, but she used to be my girlfriend, so now I have to specify fiance because we got engaged. Yay.
She's your ex-girlfriend?
She's my ex. So me and my ex-girlfriend went to go and see this movie, and Nicole, my ex-girlfriend, hates horror movies. Like absolutely hates horror movies. And like sometimes I'll get her to go see one with me, and she really enjoys like horror comedies. Like she loved Freaky. Like we went to go see Freaky and she loved that. She loved I made her watch Tucker and Dale versus Evil and stuff. And so like I know the kind of movie that she would like.
Yes.
I knew going in that she was going to absolutely hate this movie. So but we go to this theater. It's opening night. We were able to score tickets. And because we didn't know how long it was going to be in theaters, like little did we know it was going to kind of like have this own life and just like keep being shown, which is awesome. So we went to go see it, and the theater was packed with just like so many horror nerds. Like take everyone that we met at Horror Hound and like copy and paste them into a movie theater in Pennsylvania, and that's literally like what it was. And
so how many people that looked like you and I exactly?
Yeah, so literally it was just like let me rephrase that. Just picture like 500 me's in a theater, and that's really what it was. So the crowd was amazing. Like it was kind of that classic, like, all right, I'm in here with people who are enjoying the same things that I enjoy. And so the kills, which a lot of people obviously were the cause of some severe sickness in some places for people who didn't really know what they were getting into, they were celebrated during our screening. And it was good enough that Nicole said to me, she was like, I wouldn't watch that movie again, but I'd probably watch the next one to know what happened. And I was like, success. See, that's all I need, because it's so violent and just gore over the top that I think it just becomes fun for everybody, because that's like it's not real to an extent, right? Like you just said, like these people have crazy health bars, and so it's like in a way that's not parody, but I guess satire is more close, even though it's not completely humorous. Although I do think there's a little bit of humor. It's like satirizing the genre in and of itself, and that like these people are just alive for the sole purpose of being killed, and they continue to be alive for that sole purpose of like continuing the kill and continuing to show off this gore. That I think it's a real, like, it's just this murder is just so fun to watch, you know?
Yeah, no, it is.
That's a soundbite we should pull for later.
Yeah, hey, our FBI agent, FBI just agent. Go ahead and add us to that list.
He DM'd me and he was like, Evan, love this movie. It's cool. Keep talking.
Got it. Mine was like, what, should I watch it? And I was like, yeah, I mean, go ahead. Like, it's worth the price of admission.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, no, like, it's, I will say that Damian Leone was he nailed the best way outside of like Pennywise the Clown to do a clown that kills people.
Yes.
In the way of he is clearly, like, Art the Clown is clearly taking a cartoonish level of joy out of the murder that he is doing. And the movie is also clearly getting a similar feeling out of it that like Art is. Like, the movie is also enjoying what is happening. And there is, because we've all seen our share of really bad murderous clown movies, right, and almost across the board they're terrible. But this one, they were like, no, we have the tone on point. Art the Clown is having a great time murdering, and the movie is having a great time showing you the murder.
Sure.
And we're just going to make this as over the top and like borderline cartoonish as possible. And it's just going to be like a cavalcade of gore. And I loved it. Like, I was like, this is a fun time.
Well, like, it's funny you say that, because like even Art the Clown, even when he's like dying himself and getting hurt himself, like it's always a joke to him as well too. Like, even before he gets his head cut off at the end, he's, he gives you a little, shaving a haircut, like, little dash. That, he might as well have said, "That's all, folks."
There's a very Looney Tunes quality to him.
Yes. But I think, that, and you're right. He's like the opposite of what a Pennywise would be too, right? Like Pennywise is this like evil, and they're both evil entities, like, that are essentially disguised as clowns, right? I think we get to the point towards the end where we're like, all right, so there's more to Art than just him being a clown. He's got this whole other like universe of supernatural power in that little like thing in the basement that he has, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so you're right. It's like watching Terrifier 2, you can feel the glee that this clown has with killing people. And when you watch like something like it, I don't know if you can call it glee. It's more like hunger. You know what I mean? Like whereas Pennywise is a predator that uses his happiness as a means to lure kids, or his clown physique as a way to lure kids. Whereas like, Art is clearly having fun with it. Like he's only doing it for fun.
Yes. Well, I think the difference is that you get the feeling that Art is, in a very real carnal sense, getting off on this. And there's none of that with Pennywise. You get that Pennywise enjoys what Pennywise is doing, but Art the Clown is fucking carrying, like, getting off on this in like a weird way. And that comes through. Also, while we're talking, what the fuck is the little girl? Like the pale girl? Like the what is that? I know that we're not supposed to know.
Art needed a friend, man.
That is exclusively in his imagination until the main character played by Lauren Lavera sees it at the end.
Well, to be fair, the kid's name?
Yes,
the little brother does see them playing with a dead possum.
Yes, sorry. The only two people who see her are Lauren Lavera's character and her brother.
Yeah. Well, if towards the end of the movie, they when they're in I don't remember if they're in Art's lair or if they're in the dad's paper, like going through the dad's papers in that book that the kid keeps stealing. You find an article that says little girl missing or something around the carnival or something, and it's the picture of the girl. So it's one of his previous victims, right? But I think that her function, I guess, is maybe I have this. Okay, hear me out. Here's my Terrifier conspiracy.
Okay, I was hoping we would get into this because I also have one, and I wonder if yours is the same as mine.
It might be the same. Let's find out. So let's say it at the same time, and maybe we could. No,
absolutely not. That would be a nightmare for the listeners.
That sounds like something people don't listen to. So my theory is that in Terrifier, not one, but Terrifier 1, Art is not a supernatural entity. Art is just a guy who dresses up as a clown and murders people. When he is taken to that morgue that is kind of the bridge between the first movie and the second movie, and obviously something happens, he rejuvenates, he comes back to life. That is when some sort of supernatural or spiritual energy may be experienced by Lauren Lavera's dad somehow, or maybe he foresaw some sort of paranormal entity taking over Art's body. And it comes to him in the form of one of his most recent victims, which is that little girl. So it's embodying something from Art's memory, and it is the supernatural entity that is turning him into not just a regular serial killer as a clown, but something else, something different that you experience in Terrifier 2. That would be my conspiracy theory. Do we have different ones?
Yes.
Oh, that's so exciting. Okay. All right. Well, tell me how cool mine was first before we...
I was going to say, I like that. That's a really cool conspiracy theory about it. It is way more way more supernatural and ethereal than mine is, which I think is very fun.
So what you're trying to say is I'm more fun than you.
Yes, absolutely. 100%. Okay. I'm the stick in the mud. We've established that. Great. I came in with a hot take immediately.
Yeah. Audience, if we could just write that down, remember, please. Thank you very much. Okay, yep. Please tell me yours. I'm very intrigued.
I think Art is Lauren Lavera's character's dad.
Oh.
Okay. I think because he wrote down, he drew these pictures of Art while he was suffering from a brain tumor or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
And then I think they said he took his own life.
Yeah.
And I think in the first Terrifier movie, in Terrifier 1, we get he is already supernatural.
Right.
And has become Art the Clown. And then I think that the little ghost child is his first kill. I think that is his first kill is Art the Clown.
Oh, okay.
And she is what haunts him. But also one of the reasons I think that it is Lauren Lavera's dad is so not only did he draw that, but he drew her character, her in the sort of paladin costume,
right,
slaying a beast. And I think it was almost this I think it's ultimately this prophetic vision of this thing to come, where it's I will become this beast that you have to slay.
Yeah.
And you are you will be the thing that rises up and actually takes me out. I think that. Yeah, that's what I got from it, because everything it points very cleanly in that direction when you look at everything.
Right.
And I think that doing something like ignoring too many of those points makes a lot of that stuff in Terrifier 2 really messy. And I would like to think that Damian is cognizant of that and is just like, okay,
well,
so we're just going to make it.
We learned from the first movie that he has such a good knack for, like, you know, storytelling and script structure and character development. So obviously I'm just kidding. We love your movies, but like, literally love your movies. But oh God, I didn't realize this was going to turn into like a roast of these movies. Anyway, but hear me out. Let's meet halfway. What if we're both right? What if her dad was slowly kind of seeing visions and stuff, but he was still just a man, and he just like, and that girl was the first one that he killed, and that's what haunts him. But he doesn't go full supernatural until he does get to that morgue. I still think there's an argument to be made that everything that happened in the first movie up until he's dead, like, could be achieved by just a man in a costume, right? So,
I don't disagree.
Yeah. So maybe we're both right, and we can merge our ideas. Our ideas can be friends.
Yes. Well, there's not a lot in any of your ideas that would, or like any of your conspiracy that like actively disagrees with anything from mine. It was just like, yeah, I just think that Art is Lauren Lavera's character's dad. I just think that's what it is.
I agree that both of our ideas are now friends.
Yes, they're friends. They're going to go get lunch.
They're going to get lunch.
They're going to see Terrifier 3 together.
They're going to maybe see if they can work out their minor differences, and they're going to be stronger together because of it.
Yes. And you know, they'll walk happily into the sunset.
They will. We promote positive relationships here at Nightmare Network. Friendship, kindness, and murder are the three things that we making sure your kill is dead. It's friendship, kindness, and confirming your murders are the three things that we endorse here at Nightmare Network. Yeah,
if you take nothing away from any of our conversations, it is friendship, kindness, confirm your fucking kill.
Confirm your fucking kill. We should, oh my God, we should put that on a t-shirt.
Friendship, kindness, confirm your fucking kill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
I mean,
I've been looking for merch opportunities. So this is where it's going to start.
I don't think that's a bad idea.
I don't either. So I want to ask a question that, it applies to this, but I think it's like an overarching horror question.
Okay.
In that, this movie's awesome.
It rocks.
It rocks. However, a really big part of this movie is murder, and not only murder, but like violent torture, gore, over the top. Let's see what your insides look like kind of murder.
Yeah.
Like, why? You know, why? I want to know why is gore important in horror like this? Like, you know, there are some directors who, and again, this is like, they're not making this kind of movie, you know, but like, you know, the hint of blood, stuff happening off camera, the you know, like the Andre Bazin, if I'm going to get my little, like, you know, film nerd on, like, thing of like, if you don't show it, it becomes more real to you, right? Yeah. That kind of idea. Why is this different? Why, like, if my mom comes up to me and is like, why the hell would you ever want to watch a movie like that? Like, why do you think it's important to this type of horror to show that gore? What enhances the story? What makes it important?
It's okay. Have you seen the movie Green Room?
Yo, I have not, and you're like the third person this week to call me out for not seeing Green Room.
First of all, as we should, you need to see Green Room.
Yeah, I'm gonna. I'll probably watch it tonight. We are going to see Cocaine Bear tonight, so I'm pretty stoked about that. So I'll put it on my list.
Watch, if you can, watch Green Room before you watch Cocaine Bear, because Green Room is such a downer that you're gonna want a pick-me-up, and Cocaine Bear is a pick-me-up.
I thought you were going to be like, because Cocaine Bear is the spiritual sequel to Green Room, and like I don't know why I haven't seen it, because I what is it, Jeremy Saulnier, I think is his name, the filmmaker. I like him a lot, and that movie, maybe this like subconsciously is the reason why I haven't watched it, but like that movie hits so close to home for me because I was a touring musician, and like I lived on the road and stuff in like really weird places and like slept in farmhouses and stuff. So maybe subconsciously I'm a little afraid to watch it, but
Totally fair.
I definitely will. I promise. You're like the third person just this week to call me out for not watching that movie.
Watch it. But the reason that I bring up Green Room is because Green Room has some of the most real gore that I've seen in a movie. And it feels different, man. Like, watching a movie where the gore is super realistic, sends a message through your body that movies like Terrifier doesn't. And I think in a movie like Terrifier, if Art the Clown is murdering people with this ghoulish glee, and the movie meets that with a hard realism in its gore, the movie becomes unwatchable. Because the movie at that point is the wrong kind of mean-spirited, because there's no psychological effect, or there's no like psychological horror happening there. It is just warfare. And it's awful. And I think that for movies like these, like the epic slashers, or just like campy slashers in general, the addition of the over-the-top gore kind of lets everybody watching it know that we're all in on the same joke. That we're all in on the same thing. And it's like, yeah, this, like, the events that are happening suck. But we're going to make it fun by being like, oh, look, this person got their wrist or their hand cut off and they're going to spray a gallon of blood. And it's like, that's awesome and fun and cool. Whereas like something that is super realistic and toned down is an entirely different kind of movie.
Right. And it's not even to say like the gore effects or anything like aren't good or like realistic in their own self. It's just like you can tell there's a separation between a Terrifier level of gore versus something that you're referring to, right? Like not to downplay like the effectiveness of it is, I guess, is what I'm saying. Like I don't think the gore effects in I think they're kind of astounding, like what he's able to do with latex and stuff, right? It's just a different kind of approach to that gore. Like, yes. Yeah.
It is, you will never hear me say that any of the effects in either Terrifier or Terrifier 2, especially Terrifier 2, are bad. The gore effects in Terrifier 2 are incredible. They're breathtaking even. And you'll never hear me say anything bad about them, but they are so over the top in their, in the way that they're presented.
Yes.
That it sort of becomes a carnival of violence, and it's just like, oh, this kind of rocks.
Yeah, I like what you said about how if you were to apply an ultra realistic sort of gore effects to a Terrifier 2, that it would become warfare. Like I completely agree with that. At that point, it doesn't become fun; it becomes it's that literally, and I think that's a spot on way to approach it.
Yeah, it's kind of like I talked to one of my writing partners about this, about like reading scary stories to children and stuff like that. Because somebody asked me at one point, was like, why do you make horror movies, and like what, like this whole, and I was like there was an incredible quote by a scholar about fairy tales, and I use it also for horror, which is that we don't read children fairy tales to teach them that dragons exist, because children already know that dragons exist. We read children fairy tales so that they know that dragons can be defeated.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like there's like, especially in movies like this, there is sort of like a parable-esque quality to a lot of them. I mean, most horror, like slasher films, are morality plays.
Yes.
And as fucked up as that is, we'll talk about that at a different time. But like, it's
like, listen, everybody, don't be a dick, or literally a murderous clown is going to dismember you. remove your lungs through your back, and then suspend you in midair. You'll be alive.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so like, just don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick.
Friendship. Kindness. Confirm your
fucking kill.
Yeah. But no, I think what you said is really salient, and it's cool because, you know, you came here for some stupid assholes to make some jokes about, you know, like being murdered, but you leave with a lesson, and you leave with heart. But have you ever seen Hunter x Hunter?
So here's the fun thing about Hunter x Hunter.
Oh, okay.
I have not seen it. However, that movie was at Horror Hound the last time that I was at Horror Hound under a different name.
Under a different name?
Yes, and they changed the name. Do
you remember what the original name was?
I don't.
We're talking about the same one, but like Devon Sawa and everything, and Nick Stahl is in it, right?
We are talking about something different.
Okay, never mind.
Hunter x Hunter. Yeah, no, I'm thinking about It's I think Hunter and then Hunt Her. Or something like that, so or Hunter Killer.
A nice little pun you're thinking of. Yeah, the pun movie. No, it's called Hunter x Hunter. We did a podcast on it in season 1, and it's about like this man, his wife, and their daughter. They kind of don't want anything to do with civilization, and you're like same. And so they live in this house in the woods, and then there's someone else comes, like a person comes along, and then it makes everything complicated, that kind of thing. But without giving too much away, because if you have, like, go see that movie. Like, if I'm watching Green Moon, go watch Hunter x Hunter, because Hunter x Hunter is amazing. The last like 4 minutes of Hunter x Hunter are just some of the most disturbing. Like it's one of those movies where, I mean, I know like every movie, like the ending is important, but it's a movie whose ending is the entire crux of the entire movie. Like nothing works in it without that ending. Okay. And the ending is so insane and vicious and realistic and something like that. And the way that movie ends and the gore in that movie is a direct representation of what's happening to someone's character at the time that it happens. And so you're watching this kind of realistic thing, and there's minimal amount of gore in that movie up until the very end. And you're watching this happen, and it's just it's like you're experiencing this very real change in this person's psyche because of how real and specific that gore is. Yeah. Something like that doesn't work or translate well into a Terrifier 2. Number one, I think pretty much is that it's not fun, you know, and I think a very important part of Terrifier 2 is to have fun. And I think that the gore in that movie, like I said, it's essentially the equivalent to a cartoon, right? Yeah. And I think that's what's really important for the narrative itself, right? Because part of the narrative is like, part of the narrative revolves around you enjoying this movie, right? In terms of like it's really kind of embracing that 80s slasher kind of, or 70s 80s slasher where you want the entire audience to be cheering for these kills, which is what Kevin Smith made us do at his theater when we saw it there. He literally, before he starts, is like, yeah, when I grew up, we literally used to just get up in our seats and scream at all this, you know, at every time there was a kill. So every time there was a kill in these movies, I want everybody in here to scream and clap and get as loud as you can every time someone dies. Hey, I'm Kevin Smith. So like,
yeah, I mean, I was actually like, I'll pass this right back to you, but I was literally about to say this is very reminiscent of the like 80s style, like low budget slashers a la The Burning or Sleepaway Camp and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I think it helps that, like, you know, as much improved as like character development and things are in this movie, everyone's still an archetype in this movie. There's not a lot of like development going on unless you're maybe talking about Sienna's character, right? Everyone else is pretty much like a college archetype. So it's like fun to watch those. Like, it's fun to watch archetypes get killed. It's not that much fun to watch real people get killed.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, there is something to the fact that in a lot of classic horror movies or a lot of classic slashers, a lot of the characters are assholes.
Yes.
They're just kind of unlikable, and it helps to soften the blow of this awful thing that we're about to do to them.
Like the one friend, every time I watch this, I'm like,
who drugs her?
Who literally drugs her, and she's like, it's fine, it was only a little bit, and I'm like, you don't
go fuck yourself.
Don't drug anybody ever, please. Period. Like, yeah, and then her boyfriend, the girl who drugs her's boyfriend, is like, you think he's cool for a second, and then you're like, he's just a dick, and then he gets his dick cut off, and then which is great because one of my conspiracy theories for this movie is that we technically don't see the guy with his wiener cut off die. So will he return in Terrifier 3 as some sort of dickless wonder? Did he?
I was about to say the dickless wonder.
The dickless wonder. Yeah. Did he learn his lesson from last time?
Let's hope.
Let's hope. Maybe Terrifier 3 turns into just like a real redemption story for the guy that gets his dick cut off, and that it's not like there's art's not even in it. It's just this really heartwarming tale of this dude becoming a better man. That would be incredible. That
would be wild. But like talking about characters that you like dying, Lauren Lavera's character's friend, like the one who's actually kind of like a sweetheart the entire movie.
Yes.
Her death, there were parts of her death that were actually hard to watch a little bit because she was one of the only truly likable characters in the whole movie. And so like, that's a really good example is like everybody that I've talked to it was like, there are a couple times during her death where it's like, I think this might be getting close to being too far.
Yes.
And it's like, it's only because we like her.
Yes. But that's also why her death is such a showcase too. You know what I mean? Like no other character would that work for, which I think is interesting.
I think that Damian knew what he was doing in that, where he was like, this is one of the only likable character outside of the main character in this whole fucking movie. So we're gonna like really give it to her, and just be like, hey, the gloves kind of are off in this movie. Just because they're super likable doesn't mean we're gonna make their death any less awful. But I also reminded of, have you seen The Strangers Pray at Night?
Yes.
That is a great example of a slasher film with likable characters.
Yeah.
That has like a more realistic take on gore. And it's like a great example of where it's like the pool scene where the brother gets stabbed in the back is one of the most gut-wrenching, anxiety-inducing scenes that I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
Like the first time I watched it, where you're just watching him struggle and you're like, am I about to watch this boy drown?
Yeah.
Like slowly? That sucks.
Well, we're at a few weeks we are going to be talking about Hellraiser too. And I had actually never seen the new one, and I had only seen the first one like a long time ago, so I rewatched it. But watching the new one, I felt the same way. Like there are like the characters in that movie, I really liked them and I really felt for them, and especially the one, the guy's boyfriend who makes it to the very end. And it's just like watching that stuff happen to him, and I think the gore in that movie is pretty insane.
Oh my God.
Oh, it's tough. Like it's tough because you care so much.
Yeah.
So it's funny to have like these two very different examples of extreme gore and how they make you feel. You know what I mean? Like no one, even if Kevin Smith told me to, is cheering in the theater for the guy in the pool or the boyfriend at the end of Hellraiser.
No.
Right? Like no one's doing that.
Well, it is because the movie is in agreement with you that what you're seeing sucks. Whereas they're like, this is a bad time, and we know it. Whereas Terrifier and Terrifier 2 specifically is like, hey, this is a bad time for you. Or like, if we aren't having a good time, this is a bad time for everyone.
Yeah.
And so they're like, hey, we're just gonna make it a good time. We're gonna be borderline a cartoon, but just with crazy gore effects.
Right.
And that pulls it out of being disheartening and into this thing where everyone's having a good time.
Sure. All right, so I think we've had some really good conversation with this. This was a good first round of talking with friends
Woo!
and kindness and ideas and
And
stuff
confirming your
and
kills.
confirming your kills. So before we end this, there's one thing I want to kind of end on, and that is Terrifier has done something that a select few films have really achieved. One being like the Blair Witch Project, in that someone made this movie for such a small amount of money, and it made, in relation to what it cost, a crap ton of money, and became a cult hit, and it became way popular. It's huge in the horror scene. Some people who weren't familiar with the first one have now seen the second one because of all the buzz, and in turn have seen the first one. It's becoming its own thing. Where does that what is the future of not only Terrifier as a franchise, but of indie horror? Because this is a game changer for that, and that's really fascinating to me. That something this violent and gory and not rated and over the top and independent is really making waves.
So we're actually in, and this is really fun because both of us make indie horror. So like,
For sure.
But we're actually, I think, looking down the barrel of something, both with Terrifier 2 and with Skinamarink.
Yes.
Two movies that came out within a year of each other that I think are kind of breaking the wheel.
Yes.
Because Skinamarink was made for $15,000. Terrifier 2 was made for like $250,000 or something like that.
So a little bit more, but still,
a little bit more.
That's chump change.
Yeah. And they came out and were like tailored for their audiences.
Yep.
And were unapologetic about what they were and became immensely popular. And like, you know, Terrifier 2 made several $1 million in the box office. So did Skinamarink. And I think what is happening now is we might be looking down the barrel of a new resurgence, a true resurgence in indie horror films.
Yes.
The likes of which we haven't seen since the 70s and 80s.
Yeah, so I completely agree with that. For Skinamarink, we're going to hold off a little bit on that conversation because I want to talk about that specific. That's a whole thing I want to talk about is how
in the Skinamarink episode,
how that was developed and stuff because it's super interesting because both of those films, you're right, within a year, very small amounts of money, a ridiculous popularity that got from the buzz that it was experiencing both on Twitter. Twitter was a huge thing for Skinamarink too, but I think that they took very different paths to get there, which is really interesting. Skinamarink was very much like a viral video YouTube type of path with all of Kyle Eberball's shorts that he did and how that was kind of leading up to what Skinamarink was.
Yes.
For this, this feels a little bit more traditional with like getting that funding for just a really small indie project and then just like hitting festivals and stuff with Terrifier not one and then just kind of building on a brand. And so I find that very fascinating is that we have two instances that this has happened in the last year, both that have taken very different paths to get there. Yes. And I think what the result of this is going to be that studios and not only like the A24s, but also like, Warner Brothers, who has a really big, like horror IPs and stuff like that. They're going to change the way they make movies because of Terrifier 2. Like they're seeing the way that unrated violence and stuff has been, that this over the top gore stuff that's been, it used to be that if the MPAA gives you an outrated or something that's not an R, then it was something unmarketable, and that's just not the case anymore. Yeah. So what's going to happen with these movies is really fascinating because I know that Kyle Eberball and I know that Damian have had meetings with those companies. Like it's happening right now, and I'm just so excited to see where it goes.
I agree. But I think we're sort of looking down the barrel of like a true full resurgence in these, like the the Wild West of horror sort of happening again. And I think that that's really fun to think about.
Yes.
Especially as a horror fan and as a horror filmmaker, it's very heartening to look out and be like, hey, these guys just hit the festival circuit. But I think an important thing, especially when it comes to Terrifier 2, that needs to be taken into account is, and this is sort of what I'm doing with Wait Till Dawn, and what I suggest any horror filmmaker who listens to this, please take a page out of this book as well. Damian was asked what festivals he was going to send Terrifier 2 to, and he was like, I'm going to do like Fantastic Fest and Blood in the Snow and Horror Hound and just named a bunch of horror festivals. And he said out loud, he was like, I don't care what the people at Sundance think about Terrifier 2. They're not Terrifier 2's audience.
Yep.
Terrifier 2, the audience for that movie is hardcore horror fans.
Yes.
So I'm going to take it to festivals where the judging panel and the audiences are hardcore horror fans, because that's who this movie is for. And if you're going to make an indie horror film, stop trying to send it, like, unless it is like a super artsy A24 style horror film, stop trying to send it to Sundance and Dances with Films as if that's your only option. Fucking send it to all of these like really cool indie horror festivals, because that's the only way that we're going to bring those horror festivals up. But also, that's how you're going to get noticed for the genre that you do.
I think the moral of the story here is that everybody needs to come hang out with us at Horror Hound, because it's pretty awesome.
Dude, that was one of the coolest times.
I still have my badge. I'm looking at it right now. God, it was such a great time.
I've got both of my Horror Hound badges hanging up on my on a skull in my living room.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
We're not going to get into why there's a skull in your living room, but we are gonna wrap up this conversation.
Yeah.
So great first episode, everybody out there, give it up for Killian for his first ever Nightmare Network podcast. It's been an absolute pleasure. We can't wait to do more with you.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah, you're so very welcome. And everybody listen out there, remember, friendship, kindness, confirm your kill.
Confirm your kill.
Confirm your kill. Have a great night, everybody. Thanks for listening to Season 3 of Nightmare Network. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and keep an eye on all of our socials for special announcements and videos. Remember, here at Nightmare Network, you share your scares.